Yo, what's up, aliens? AHEE here. Stoked to see y'all. I've got another tutorial for you, and this one I'm excited about. It's an idea I've been messing around with in my head for a while, but now I feel like I've got a really concrete example of the difference between the traditional, like sending all your stuff through one limiter versus what Ill Gates has been calling bus mastering, which is that technique I showed y'all maybe like a year and a half ago now, that I picked up from the Skrillex Ableton project. Um, and so what the bus mastering is, I sell these templates as well where it's like you have multiple limiters, and so you send different groups of sounds through different groups of limiters, and it gets such a cleaner result than just sending it all through one limiter. So first I'm going to show y'all here the traditional old way, which I don't know, you can still get great mixes this way, but I'm showing y'all a bad example here on purpose. They're all being sent directly to this limiter, and I'm just using the Ableton limiter, and then I'm boosting the gain through that. And I notice this in a lot of people's tracks. There's like this like dirtiness to it, but not necessarily in like a pleasant dirty or an interesting dirty. And people ask me all the time, like how do I get clean mixes like you? And I'm telling you, this is the thing. So I also have these same exact loops here, but set up in my bus mastering process. And these are all being sent to Pro Ls. But here, let's listen.
The best I'll do is promise you we'll have some fun before we're through. The best I'll do is promise you we'll have some fun before we're through.
All right, now let's listen to it through the bus mastering process.
The best I'll do is promise you we'll have some fun before we're through. The best I'll do is promise you we'll have some fun before we're through.
Now back again to the single limit group.
The best I'll do is promise you we'll have some fun before we're through. The best I'll do is promise you we'll have some fun before we're through. The best I'll do is promise you.
So you can hear in the single limiting group, there's like the bass particularly, it causes this like crunchiness, this like dirtiness to happen. It's sort of unpleasant. While the bus mastering system, it's just got like a cleaner, smoother feel to it. And the main reason why this is happening this way is because all these elements are fighting for space in this single limiter. And so like once one element hits the threshold, it's like it's ducking the other elements in there. If we really crank it up, we can hear it'll get even worse.
The best I'll do is promise you we'll have some fun before we.
But then here we can actually crank up the this system, and it won't sound as bad.
The best I'll do is promise you we'll have some fun before we're through.
Even though we've cranked that up, it still sounds super smooth. And again, let me show you all exactly what's going on. So I just threw this loop into these groups, and I've got like the my AHEE drum OTT, which is part of my Magic Rex Volume 3 that just came out, and then it's also going through the FabFilter Pro L2, and that's being gained up quite a bit. But usually when I actually make the tracks, and if you've seen my other videos, I usually just leave these at 0 and then I boost the volume into them, but I didn't in this case. And then this literally is just a sine wave in Serum. Sine wave, no effects, and then yeah, that's has some side chaining stuff on it, but it's not really doing anything. And then let's see, what's this one? No gain on that one. The melodic loop, I'm cutting out the low end, so that way there's nothing interfering with the sub bass there. Yeah, it's got the OTT on it, and then yeah, a little bit of gain through that limiter, and then the vocal here, there's no limiter. it's being sent directly to the master, while the bass here and the drums here are being sent to another pre-master that has a limiter on that as well, but that's not really doing anything. And so what this is doing is that it's giving the volume boost that you want when you're like when you limit something, you're essentially, it's another form of compression. But by giving them all their individual limiters, it just allows them to reach those dynamics and clarity without having to fight each other, against the threshold of the limiter. I hope that makes sense. It's one of the best ways I can demonstrate this idea. And actually, after a year of doing this now, or maybe year and a half, 2 years of using this technique, I've found that you can really experiment with it and get some new interesting routing. And I want to talk about that a little bit. Before I do, I also want to just mention quickly that with this single limiter thing, you can get good results with a single limiter if you don't push things as hard. But also, sometimes you can get really cool results by pushing it really hard, like on purpose. And I'll have to make another video on that. I have that planned. Where you just smash things through the limiter to get a dirty but pleasant sound. It really depends on what kind of sounds you're sending through it. But in this particular case, I hope y'all could hear that it wasn't as nice. And then I'm actually working on a song with this artist, something that combines these two methods together. And so I just want to get into y'all's heads that this is another layer of creativity that you can use in your tracks. Your tracks aren't just the instruments, but it's like how you go about mixing or compressing the different elements together. Like how do you display the instruments that you have? And let me show y'all the routing. I think it's going to be interesting for y'all. Oh, look, there's me. Here we go. Awesome. So this is the template I was using for a long time, where it's got the effects and top drums and melodic stuff. They all have limiters on them, but then they're all being sent to this master limiter. And then I have the kick and snare group and the bass group being limited together, or they're being limited individually and then also being limited together. And the reason why I do this is because in bass music, generally the kick and the snare and the bass are the loudest elements. And so I wanted those to just have a lot of glue together and just like gel really well together. And then those are being sent as an individual channel. And then here, the vocals have no limiter on them, so they can retain lots of dynamics. And then those are being sent directly to the master there. And so almost in a way, the vocals are like riding over the rest of all these limit groups. Now, this is not what Skrillex does. He's actually going back, and now having gone back through those videos, I see the different videos he uses like slightly different variations of this idea for each song. And that's what I want y'all to get into thinking about. And then here's like another, this is the routing that he used for Mumbai Power, that Skrillex used for Mumbai Power. So he had it, this is way more complicated, but he had the, so again, he had the vocals going directly, no limiter, to the master limiter. And then he also had this subgroup here, going to this thing called the hype chain limiter that then also went to this group chain limiter. So basically you can see here there's multiple layers. This melodic group is going to the basic chain, the effects are going to the basic chain, and then the basic chain is going to the group limiter. So these things are then compressed together. And then you can see here he had sent his top drums and kick and snare directly here. So basically these are just like different like ways of layering your song. So his kick and snare and drums in general were more prominent in his song, and so they were sent here to the pre-master to be grouped with everything else that was going through the group chain limiter. And then I wanted to take this. Sometimes this one, I also made this one, and it's in the Magic Ableton templates. But I also made a simplified version of this that I call the hybrid template routing, which is a mix between mine and Skrillex's. And yeah, again, vocal no limiter going to the master limiter, a melodic group and the effects, and then the drums and bass going together, and then those two groups going to the master limiter, or the pre-master limiter, then going to the master. I know that's a lot of routing and arrows, but I think I just want to get into y'all's head that it's like, this is a whole nother way of producing, of layering your elements, and that is another creative, artistic choice that you can make in showcasing your music to your fans, and how it translates to like big speaker systems is a big thing, and that's why people go about doing it this way, is so that way you retain clarity and dynamics in certain elements and are able to really push other elements to like just being super squashed and loud. Yes. I hope y'all have enjoyed this tutorial. I know this was a quick one, but rewatch it if you feel like you need to, and definitely share this with a friend. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Leave me a comment down there. It really helps us out in the algorithm. And I'll also provide a link below of where y'all can get those Magic Ableton templates, and then also my Magic Racks, and also have those Serum presets that I just released called Alien Bass that are pretty fun as well. All right. I will see y'all next week. Peace, aliens. I'm so damn tired.